Hello guys, so we'll be looking at Chemistry WAEC 2021 theory questions. We'll look at from question 1 to 5. Question 1 on general chemistry, question 2 on organic chemistry, question 3 on titration and stoichiochemistry, question 4 on structures and metals, question 5 on general elemental questions and compounds. So we'll look through. Now, question 1. Question 1 is a mix of basic concepts from across the syllabus, which includes formulas, ionization energy, equilibrium, diffusion, polymers. Treat each part independently. Okay. So A, will be looking at distinguishing between molecular formula and structural formula. B, list 3 factors that determine the ionization energy of an atom. C, list the two conditions necessary for chemical equilibrium. D, will be given an ionization energy table and will state the strongest reducing agent. And Y, E, will state the Graham's law of diffusion. F, will state which salt is readily soluble and insoluble in water. G, will classify protein, perplex, nylon as addition or condensation polymers. H, will define atomic radius. I, will answer the question, why does ethanol have a higher boiling point than propane despite similar molar masses? So now, with this, we'll dive right into question 1. Now 1 says, distinguish between molecular formula and structural formula. Now, this is a tip. Think of molecular formula as a head count, which is what and how many, while structural formula is the blueprint. It shows who is bonded to whom. Now, molecular formula, this shows the actual number of atoms of each element in one molecule of a compound. Now, for example, in ethanol we have it as C2H6O, while structural formula shows the exact arrangement of atoms and the bonds between them. So in this one we have CH3, CH2 and then OH. So it shows the structure. 1b says, list 3 factors that determine the ionization energy of an atom. Now the tip here is, ionization energy is how hard it is to steal an electron. Now picture the nucleus as a magnet. Far away, it is easier to steal because it's not influenced by the magnetic field. Just think about it like this with this analogy. While if it has many protons, that means it is being attracted more, then it's harder to steal. It has a higher ionization energy. While inner electron blocking, then it's easier to steal. Now the 3 factors are atomic radius, that means greater distance from the nucleus indicates lower ionization energy. Number 2, nuclear charge means more proton equal to stronger attraction on electrons, which equal higher ionization energy. Then shielding or screening effect, the inner shell electrons reduce the nuclear pull on valence electrons. Now with this, we'll move on to the next question. State 2 conditions necessary for the establishment of a chemical equilibrium. Now 1c, a tip. For equilibrium, you must, with this analogy, put a tight lid on the pot, which means a closed system. Nothing can escape, nothing can enter. Okay, and keep the temperature steady both in the forward and reverse reaction must occur at equal rates. If it is not equal, it is not in equilibrium. Now number 1, it says the reaction must occur in a closed system, which means no reactants or products can escape. Number 2 says the temperature must remain constant throughout the reaction, which means the reaction must also be reversible. Okay, we'll be looking at 1D. 1D says is giving A is equal to 600 kilojoules per mole, B is given as 518 kilojoules per mole, and C is given as 594 kilojoules per mole. Now the question says, which is the strongest reducing agent and why? Now a reducing agent forces someone else to take its electron. That means the element with the lowest ionization energy gives up its electron most easily. It is the biggest electron donor. Now the correct answer is, given we have 619, 518 and then 594. The lowest in all of this is B, which is 518. So the strongest reducing agent is B, since a reducing agent is an electron donor, and B has the lowest ionization energy, which is 518 kilojoules per mole, and that means it requires the least energy to lose its valence electron. So lowest ionization energy easily lose electrons, which becomes the strongest reducing agent. Now one is says state Graham's law of diffusion. Now use this analogy: heavy gases walk slowly while light gases run fast. Imagine trying to race against a fat obese. Maybe you are thin and you are athletic, so the lighter one will be able to run faster than the obese one. So now using that same analogy here, the lighter the gas, the faster it diffuses. So CO2 is heavier than H2. So H2 is the mass is 2 times 1, which will give us 2, while CO2 the mass is 16 times 2 and plus 12. So you see, since H2 is lighter, it diffuses much faster. Now this is what Graham's law states. Graham's law states that the rate of diffusion of a gas is inversely proportional to the square root of its molar mass or vapor density at constant temperature and pressure. I know it's a bit blocking it, but that's what it says there. Constant temperature and pressure. So now the formula is given as rate is inversely proportional to the square root of the molar mass, where R1 over R2 is equal to the total square root of M2 over M1, which is the molar mass. So as I just said, you can see it clearer now. Now we'll move on. From NgNO3 and then calcium CO3 and then Na2SO4, which is A, readily soluble, and B, insoluble in water. So this is referred to as magnesium nitrate, and this is calcium carbonate, and then this is sodium sulfate, or you can call it sodium tetraoxosulfate 6. So now we'll find out which one is soluble and insoluble. Now use these 2 golden rules that you must memorize. All nitrates dissolve and all sodium salts dissolve. Chalk calcium carbonate just sits at the bottom. So that means most trioxocarbonates, 4 salts are not able to dissolve, so they are insoluble. So that is in exception of group 1 metals and ammonium NH4. Now move on to the next question. Now classify protein, perspec, and nylon as addition polymer or condensation polymer. Now this is a tip. Key test: did they lose a small molecule of water slash HCl while joining? If so, then it is condensation. Or did they just pop open a double bond to link? If so, it is addition, and therefore perspex is equal to plastic, which is equal to addition, while proteins and nylon, which are biological, and nylon is derived through the process of condensation. So that is that. So here the solution is: protein is a condensation polymer. It is made from amino acids joined by losing water molecules. Perspex is an additional polymer. It is an alkene-like monomers will open up their double carbon bonds to link up, and nylon is from a condensation polymer where diamine and dicarboxylic acid link up, losing water. So now 1H says define atomic radius. Now this one is quite an easy one for any chemistry student. Now we'll dive right into it. Now a tip is, you can't measure one fuzzy atom directly, so scientists take two identical atoms holding hands via covalent bonds and then measure the center to center distance and then divide by 2, which is quite simple. So here the definition of an atomic radius is: it is defined as 1/2 the internuclear distance between two identical atoms that are covalently bonded in a diatomic molecule. So here you can see, here's the distance between the two nuclei, which is plural for nucleus. So here is one and here is the other, and then half, 1/2, which is 1/2 of the distance here of this full distance, would give us the atomic radius, which is half the distance between the two nuclei. So atomic radius is given as 1/2, which is half times the distance between the nuclei. Now move to the next question. Why does ethanol have a higher boiling point than propane even though they have comparable molar masses? Now the tip here is, ethanol's OH group, which is equal to a molecular superglue, contains hydrogen bonds, while propane, a dry static cling of van der Waals force. So you need way more heat to break superglue. Using this analogy, even though they have same masses, they have different forces. So here ethanol C2H5OH, it contains a polar OH group that forms strong intermolecular hydrogen bonds between the molecules, while CH3H8 is a non-polar hydrocarbon held together only by weak van der Waals dispersion forces, which means more heat is needed to overcome the strong bond in ethanol than the weak forces in propane. Now what this means is, since ethanol is branched, it has another functional group differing from the main branch, from the parent chain. Therefore that's why the boiling point is higher, as the characteristics that makes this thing hydroorganic compound like this, why they have, what factors that influences their boiling point. Number one is, the longer the chain, the higher the boiling point, and the longer the branch chain is, also increases the boiling point. So here, since ethanol has a branch chain, it is therefore has a higher boiling point. J says state three significances of pH in everyday life. Now, tutor's a tip: plants die in too sour soil, heartburn hurts from excess stomach acids, and acidic water literally eats metal pipes. pH matters in farming, medicine, and water engineering. So number 1 says agriculture determines soil acidity / alkalinity to ensure optimum crop yield. Number 2 says medicine antacids neutralize excess stomach acid in treatment of indigestion. Water treatment water is adjusted to prevent corrosion of water pipes and ensure safe drinking water. So it's also in the survival of animals. So pH change can cause tooth decay. Also, it's also a treatment of industrial liquid waste. So these are more. So those are the significance of pH. pH value. pH signifies potential of hydrogen in our everyday life. So now that's all on question 1. So now we'll be dealing with question 2, which is organic chemistry and electroplating. So question 2 focuses on homologous series, organic reactions, gas preparation, hydrocarbons, and practical lab skills like electroplating. So you have to know your organic chemistry rules here. So now in question 2, AI, not the other AI. Option question AI says state 2 characteristics of a homologous series. AII says distinguish between the reactions of ethane and ethene with bromine water. B says name the gas produced from sodium chloride plus concentrated tetrazol sulfate 6 acid, and then its physical properties, and write the equation. CI, what are hydrocarbons? CII, state 2 natural sources of hydrocarbons. CII, a hydrocarbon contains 83% carbon and 17% hydrogen. Determine its empirical formula. D, describe a setup to electroplate a copper ornament with silver.